Hi everyone, Al the Psych here. I have a video today for informational purposes only on a book called Buyology by Lindstrom. This goes back to 2008. And of course, I'm going to give my take on it as well as the author's information from the book. So if you want just information from the book, then you have to go read the book. All right. So, just going to pull out what I thought was important from the book. He mentions, or the author mentions, warning labels had no effect on smokers. This is based on research by Dr. Calvert that the author referenced. In fact, the warnings stimulated an area of the smoker's brains called the nucleus accumbens, otherwise known as the craving spot. Okay. Now, from the National Library of Medicine, 2006, warnings that are graphic, larger, and more comprehensive in content are more effective in communicating the health risks of smoking. So, effectiveness of cigarette warning labels in informing smokers about the risks of smoking. That was the name of the article that was referenced. So that's kind of interesting that it mentions that they're effective. But let's go on a little bit further. Now I have a JAMA finding from 2021. So it says a randomized clinical trial found that graphic warning labels decreased positive perceptions of cigarettes associated with branded cigarette packs. So it kind of sounds like this is contradicting what was found by Dr. Calvert. However, if we read on a little bit further, but then it says, the JAMA findings then says, but without clearly increasing health concerns. So these warning labels, they decrease the positive perceptions of cigarettes, but without increasing health concerns. That's kind of interesting. So these graphic warning labels also increased quitting cognitions. Okay, so you would think that would be very good. But they did not affect either cigarette cessation or consumption levels. So it's kind of interesting how, yeah, cognitively they get it, but behaviorally, okay, it's not working. Now, actually, the results don't surprise me because we're talking about cigarettes. Which are actually more addictive than heroin. So let's go a little bit further and away from cigarettes for a moment. So now, if you get excited about something, like if you're in the process of wanting to buy something or looking to buy something, so if you get excited about something, it increases the chance of making a quick decision rather than delaying gratification. Because if you delay gratification, now you can make a more sound decision. You're going to think about it rationally. Okay, do I really want this? Do I really need this? Is the price right? That sort of thing. So why do you think you have high pressure salesmen? Because they don't want you to be thinking about things like that. They want you to make that impulsive move. So for example, if you buy a new car on impulse, you're kind of stuck. Right? If you suffer from buyer's remorse later, the way I understand it, there is not a 48-hour return policy for new vehicles. I always thought there was, and as I was doing a little research, apparently there is not. You might want to double check that on your own. So my thought, if you're going to go in and buy a new car, go in with the mindset of, okay, I'm not going to actually make the purchase right now, no matter what pressure tactics are used. And you can do that with smaller items as well. You can kind of have a list of questions that you have for yourself. Do I really need this item? Is it too expensive? Blah, blah, blah. Do things like that. Most of the brain, according to the author, is dominated by automatic responses rather than deliberate thinking. Okay, now we're going to go back to cigarettes. The author mentions that colors and designs of a logo, and the author references the Marlboro logo, he says that the colors and designs still sell products. So, for example, Marlboro colors will still sell cigarettes because an association has been made. And color can account for up to 80% of brand recognition. And when the logo's gone, you're even more susceptible from the ads because your guard is kind of down. Okay. The author speaks of rituals as well. So rituals help form, emotional connections with brands, and you think about that. I mean, just rituals in general. You think about all the rituals, like with regard to church rituals and wedding rituals, and the list goes on. It kind of gives you some sort of connection there going through the ritual. And I believe it was in the book, the author was referencing Corona beer, where you get the little wedge of lime and you put it there in the beer, so it's kind of that little ritual that you go through, so people, when they're going to buy their Corona, they want to make sure they have a lime with them. So superstitions and rituals are a way for people to feel a sense of control, and this is even if it doesn't actually give you any control, but you kind of get that false sense that it does. In collecting, there are collecting rituals, or maybe another way of saying it would be compulsions, that make us feel safe and secure. And when I think of a collecting ritual, I think of buying things. And if you've got 10 things that you have to get for to complete the collection, you've got the one, you get item number one, and you're kind of excited about it, so your emotions are up. But now you know that you've got one, that's good, but now you've got to work on the other one. You've got to get the other one. So you've got the emotional part of your brain kind of working for or against you, I guess, depending on how you think about it. And finally, visual images are far more effective and more memorable when they're coupled with another sense. And typically you think of like, sound or something. So maybe you see the commercial, and there's also some, soundtrack in the background. So even if you were to just hear this soundtrack at some time, that's going to trigger the item. So there's a lot. That's called sensory branding. And there's a lot of psychology involved in marketing, and it might be kind of fun if you wanted to, when you go out shopping, when you're looking at an item, to kind of step back and think, okay, why am I buying this item? Do I need this item? Do I want this item? Is this item too expensive, or is this item affordable? And were there any triggers that made me want this item? Interesting stuff. This is just one video that I've done. I'm going to try and do a little bit more on marketing and buying at some point down in the future. But for now, I'm done.